desperate betrayal.
It all went down
Even
when
longtime
Rasheeda
cast
stormed
members
into the
are said to be in
studio,
shock,
heels clicking
with
like
one
thunder,
insider revealing
eyes
that a
blazing
heated
with
argument
betrayal.
broke out during
Jasmine
filming
thought
when
the
the
past
topic
was
came
buried, but
up.
Rasheeda
Kirk
had
allegedly
receipts.
stormed off set.
Within minutes,
Rasheeda refused
voices
to
were
film,
raised,
and
tears
Jasmine
were
was
shed,
nowhere to be
and
found.
Mona had
But the
no
real
choice
question
but to
haunting
yell.
everyone
Cut
is
the cameras.
who leaked it
Fans
and why
are
now.
still reeling.
Some believe
The
it was a
tension
scorned
had been building
employee
for
from
weeks,
Frost
maybe even
Bistro,
years, but
fired
no one
earlier this
expected
year.
this.
Others
It started
suspect
as a
production
routine day on
itself,
set,
hoping
just
to
another
reignite the
love-done
Kirk
hip-hop
Rasheeda
taping.
Jasmine
But from the
triangle for
moment
ratings.
Rasheeda walked
Whatever
in,
the case,
the air
the
shifted.
timing couldn't be
You could
worse.
feel the static.
Kirk's brand is
The
already
unspoken
struggling
tension,
to
the
recover after
unfinished
recent
business that
accusations
everyone
of
thought had
financial
finally died
mismanagement.
down.
And
But
Rasheeda has been
wasn't there to
positioning
make
herself
peace.
as
She
a
was there for
powerhouse
answers.
businesswoman,
Ready
she
to step
arrived
beyond
early,
reality
stunning
TV.
as always.
And yet,
just
head
as
to toe
things
in a
seem to
fitted crimson
stabilize,
jumpsuit
this
that
bombshell
screamed
threatens to
confidence
blow
but
it all
hid the
apart
storm
again.
brewing
Was
underneath.
Jasmine Washington
members
really more
whispered
than the other
as she
woman?
passed.
Did Kirk
Makeup
Frost
artists
use business
exchanged
deals to
nervous
keep her
looks,
quiet?
and producers
what will
quietly
happen when
adjusted their
Rasheeda finds out
headsets.
the woman
They
she
all
despised
knew,
most
whenever
might have been
Rasheeda
sitting
moved
at the
with that
financial
kind of
table
energy,
all along?
something
Stay
explosive
tuned,
was about to
because what's
happen.
coming next could
Meanwhile,
destroy the
Jasmine
Frost
had
family
been in her
legacy
green room,
forever.
sipping her
Atlanta
matcha
nights
and
have always
scrolling through
been
her
full of
phone,
whispers, but
completely
this one hit
unaware that her
differently.
morning was
The
about to
first
turn
clue
into
appeared
chaos.
not in a gossip
A producer's
blog,
voice
but in a
came
quiet
through her
corner of
earpiece,
Frost Bistro.
saying, "We're rolling
When an
in
anonymous
10."
envelope was
She
slipped
smiled,
under the door after
practicing her
closing
camera-ready
hours,
expression.
inside was a
But if
single
she
sheet
knew
of
Rasheeda
paper
was
crease,
already on her
faintly
way to
stained with
confront her,
coffee,
she
but
might
the
have
name at the
walked
bottom
right
made
out
the
that
entire
door.
staff
The
freeze.
setup was
Kirk
supposed to be
Frost.
simpler,
Next to
casual
it,
catch-up
a second
between the
signature,
two women,
unreadable at first
orchestrated
glance,
by Mona
but
Scott
court
Young
files
herself.
and family
Mona
meetings
had been
started
teasing
spinning
this
out of
reunion
control.
for months,
One insider
promising
close to
fans that the
production
two
said,
would finally
when they
face
heard
their
about
truth.
Jasmine's aunt
But
meeting Kirk,
no one,
that's
not
when
even Mona,
VH1
could have
went into
predicted
panic
what would
mode.
happen once
They
the
don't want a
cameras
repeat
started
of the
rolling.
2017
When Rasheeda
scandal,
entered the
but this
room,
time,
the silence
it's
was
deeper.
deafening.
There's
The
paperwork,
lights hit her
timelines,
perfectly,
photos,
her
and
expression
apparently,
unreadable.
a child who calls
Jasmine
Kirk
looked
something
up,
more than uncle,
visibly
back at the
tensing,
Kirk.
her
It
smile
came from an
faltering.
anonymous account,
"Hey,"
and it showed a
Jasmine
clip
said
of Kirk at a
cautiously,
birthday gathering
adjusting in
months
her
ago.
chair.
In the
Rasheeda
background,
didn't
a young
respond.
child could
She
be
simply
seen
stood
running up
there,
to him,
arms
shouting,
crossed,
"Daddy!"
eyes locked on
Kirk
Jasmine
laughed,
like
picked
she
the
was
child
staring
up,
through her
and
pen.
whispered something
After
into
what
their
felt
ear.
like an
The
eternity,
clip was short,
she said
maybe
in a
6
low,
seconds,
measured
but it
tone,
changed everything.
"So you really
People
thought I
went
wouldn't
wild.
find out?"
That's him.
Jasmine
That's the
blinked,
kid. Why is
confused
he
or
acting like
pretending
it's
to be
normal?
find out
Rasheeda
what?
needs to run.
She asked,
Kirk didn't
forcing a
respond,
laugh.
but sources say he
Rasheeda
stormed
stepped
out of the
closer,
studio that
heels
morning
echoing
after
with
the
each
video
word.
went viral.
"Don't
His
play
team
dumb with
tried to
me,
claim it was an
Jasmine.
edited clip,
You know
taken out
exactly
of
what I'm
context,
talking about."
but by then,
Mona
the
shifted
internet had
uncomfortably
already
behind the
decided the
monitor.
verdict.
This
Meanwhile,
wasn't the direction
Jasmine
she
dropped a
planned.
single,
She motioned to one
a
of the
song titled
producers,
Truth Hurts
whispering,
Twice.
"Keep
The lyrics
rolling.
sent chills
Let's
down
see where
fans'
this goes."
spines. I kept your
Jasmine tried
secret,
to compose
raised your
herself.
lie.
"If
Watched
this is
your
about
wife
the
believe
past,
the sky
I
was
told
clear
you already
when
the
thunder
past."
lived inside.
Rasheeda
It
cut her
wasn't
off
hard to
sharply.
guess who she was
"You
talking
think
about.
this is about
Within
the past?
hours, the song
Girl,
trended
the
on
past
Twitter.
just came
Even
knocking at
people
my door
outside
last
the love
night.
and hip hop
Gasps
fandom
filled the
started paying
studio.
attention.
The camera
The
zoomed in on
situation
Jasmine's
spiraled
face.
faster
Her
than anyone
expression flickered
expected.
between
Kirk's
confusion
manager
and fear.
reportedly begged
"What are you
VH1 to
talking
hold
about?"
off on airing the
Jasmine
story
asked,
until
her
Kirk could
voice
get ahead of
trembling.
it. But that was
Rasheeda threw her
impossible.
phone onto the
People were
table,
already
the
calling
screen
it the
lighting up
secret
with a
child
series of
scandal
messages.
2.
That's what I'm talking
Rasheeda's
about.
friends urged her to
You've
walk
been
away
talking
this
to Kirk
time.
again.
But insiders
After
say she wasn't
everything,
ready.
after all that
She
pain,
wanted
you
answers,
still think it's
not
okay
gossip.
to play with my
She
family.
wanted the truth
The
in her
words hit
hands,
Jasmine
not
like a
in
slap.
headlines. So
The crew
breaking.
froze.
Atlanta's
Even Mona
entire
leaned
love and
forward,
hip-hop scene
eyes
is reeling
wide,
tonight
whispering
after
to a
whispers of a
cameraman,
secret deal
"Keep
that could
that
change
shot tight,
everything
this is
fans thought
gold."
they knew about Kirk
Jasmine's voice
Frost.
cracked.
Rasheeda
"I
and
wasn't
Jasmine
Rasheeda.
Washington.
It's not like
Insiders
that."
claim Kirk's
He
hidden
reached out to
contract,
me.
a document
"Oh,
so
so
explosive
now
it's
it's his
been
fault
locked away
again."
for years,
Rasheeda
has finally
snapped.
surfaced.
"You always
and
got
what's
an
inside
excuse,
could prove
don't
that
you?"
Jasmine wasn't just a
argument
fling or a
escalated
scandal.
fast.
She was a
Rasheeda's
silent
tone was
partner
sharp,
all along.
filled with fury
According
and
to multiple
heartbreak.
crew members
While
who spoke
Jasmine's
under
was
strict
desperate,
anonymity,
trying to
this
explain,
contract
but
was allegedly
constantly being
signed
cut
in the
off.
middle of the Frost
Fans
Bistro
watching the
expansion.
scene later
later, the same period when Rasheeda was fighting to rebuild her marriage and her brand after Kirk's cheating scandal. But while cameras focused on tears, therapy, and public forgiveness, something far more strategic was happening behind the scenes. Jasmine Washington, the woman who once shook Atlanta by claiming Kirk was the father of her child, was reportedly handed partial ownership in one of the Frost family's most valuable ventures. Producers are calling it the deal that never made it to VH1. Documents were reportedly filed under a dummy corporation, with Jasmine listed not by her full name, but by initials tied to her old modeling contract. The trail went cold until now, when a production insider leaked a screenshot that appears to show Kirk's digital signature next to Jasmine's alias. If real, this could mean Jasmine has been quietly profiting from the very empire Rasheeda spent years defending. Fans are furious. Comment sections have exploded overnight with hashtags like #SilentPartner and #FrostFiles trending across social media. One fan wrote, "Rasheeda fought for that man's business, and Jasmine was cashing checks behind her back." Another
Rasheeda
added,
spun toward
"This is
him.
beyond messy.
Perfect
This
timing.
is corp." The initials
Kirk,
were unmistakable.
you got something you want to tell me.
Jasmine Washington.
Kirk froze.
That's when the whispers
Jasmine
started.
looked away.
That Kirk had
Mona
been hiding
muttered under her
something
breath,
bigger than an affair.
"Lord,
That
not
what
again."
once looked like
The
lust
next few
was
minutes
actually
were pure
leverage,
chaos.
and that the other
Rasheeda
woman might have
accused
had a
Kirk of
contract
sneaking
all
behind her
along.
back again.
Behind the glow of
Jasmine
cameras
tried to
and the
defend
glamour of
herself,
love and hip
saying
hop's
she
red
only
carpets,
responded to a
Kirk
message
was
about
always more
co-parenting.
businessman
Kirk
than
tried to
husband.
deny it all,
While Rasheeda
saying
built her boutiques,
it wasn't like
Kirk
that.
handled the
But no
paperwork,
one
the
believed
numbers,
him.
the names,
Mona
the
shouted over
silent
the
deals.
noise.
But
Cut the
those who've
cameras,
worked with him
cut the
say he had a
cameras.
pattern.
But no one
Never
stopped.
leave a loose end.
The cameras
Never
kept
let
rolling
anyone
because
walk
everyone
away
knew
without signing
this was
something.
television
So when
gold.
Jasmine
Then,
first reappeared
in the
in
middle of all
Atlanta
the
years
yelling,
after the
Kirk
scandal,
blurted out
people
something
wondered
that
why
changed
Kirk didn't
everything.
panic.
You
Why
think
he
I
didn't
wanted
push
this?
back harder when
I
the
found out
paternity
Jasmine's
rumors
been seeing
exploded.
somebody
Now
else,
it's starting
someone
to
we
make
both
sense.
know.
One former
Everyone
producer
froze.
claims Kirk
Rasheeda's
met
eyes
Jasmine in a
widened.
private
Jasmine's
office off
jaw
Peachtree.
dropped. Mona
Late
dropped
one
her
night in
clipboard.
2018,
Rasheeda demanded.
when the cameras had
Kirk
stopped
hesitated,
rolling and the
looking at
network's legal
Jasmine,
team had
then at
stepped
Mona,
out,
then
Jasmine
back
had
at
just
Rasheeda.
found out she was
"You really
being
wanna
edited
know?"
out of most
he
of the
asked.
upcoming season.
"Say it,"
Her
Rasheeda
storyline
said,
reduced to
her
a
voice
scandal
trembling
montage
with
that made
fury.
her look
Kirk
desperate
took a
and
deep breath
obsessed.
and said,
She was furious.
"Scrappy."
According
The
to the
room erupted.
producer, Jasmine
Gasps,
slammed her contract
screams,
on the table
stunned
and
silence
said,
filled the set.
"You promised me exposure,
Jasmine covered her
not
face.
humiliation."
"I can't
Kirk
do
didn't
this,"
argue.
she whispered.
Instead, he leaned
Rasheeda
forward,
backed
calm
up,
as ever,
shaking her
and
head.
said, "I
"You're
can't
telling
change the edit,
me you've been
but I can
sneaking
change
around
your
with
future."
Scrappy.
That's when
My
he
friend,
allegedly pulled out a
Jasmine
second
tried
set
to
of
speak,
papers,
but
not
Rasheeda
from
held up a
VH1,
hand.
but
"Don't,
from one
just
of his
don't."
private
Mona looked
LLCs,
at the
a
camera
document
crew,
that would give
whispering
Jasmine a
frantically,
quiet stake in
"Keep it
Frost
rolling.
Bistro's
This
expansion
might break
fund,
the internet."
labeled under an
As
investment
word spread
clause.
around the set,
No cameras,
cast members
no
began
signatures
arriving.
on
Carly
set,
read,
just 2
Erica
pens
Dixon,
and a verbal
even
promise
Mama
that
D.
this would set her
Everyone
up for
wanted
life.
to see what was happening.
Insiders say Jasmine
"Lord have
hesitated
mercy,"
at first.
Mama D
She
said
didn't want to look
dramatically.
like she was being
"This
paid
right
off,
here is a
but
royal
Kirk
mess."
framed it differently.
Carly pulled
"This
out her
isn't hush
phone.
money."
"The
He
fans are gonna
reportedly
lose
said,
their minds
"This
when they
is
see
partnership."
this."
Jasmine
Mona snatched
silenced.
the phone
He
away.
implied,
"Ain't nobody
would be worth
posting
more in the
nothing yet."
long run if she
But it was
stayed
too
connected
late.
to the brand
Someone
instead
had
of trying
already
to burn
leaked
it
the
down.
confrontation
Witnesses
to social
recall
media.
her eventually
Within
signing,
minutes,
hands trembling, eyes locked on Kirk's.
#RASHEDAVs.
"You're not
Jasmine
going to
and
screw me
hashtag
again,
cut the
are you?"
cameras were
she
trending.
asked quietly.
Fans
Kirk
flooded the
smiled and
comments
said,
with reactions
"Never
ranging
again.
from
This
disbelief
time,
to
we
full-blown
both
speculation.
win." The deal
Still,
wasn't flashy.
the drama wasn't
no cash
over.
up front.
As
No
security tried
headlines.
to calm
It
things
was buried
down,
inside a
Rasheeda
business
sat in a
filing
chair,
weeks later
tears running
under
down
a
her
shell
face.
name connected to Kirk's music
"After
management
everything I've done
company.
to move on,"
Jasmine
she
became a
whispered,
silent
"they
investor
still
in
find
one
a
of
way
the
to
smaller
break me."
holding accounts is about to
Jasmine,
break wide
standing
open.
across the
Rasheeda
room,
sat in the
whispered
car
back,
for what
"I
felt like
never wanted to
forever.
hurt you.
Her heart
I
beat
swear."
louder than the city
Mona
noise
approached
outside.
gently.
Atlanta
"Ladies,
never
I
sleeps.
think that's enough
But
for
that
today."
night, the silence in her
Rasheeda
car
looked
was
up,
deafening.
eyes red,
The
but
papers
voice
lay
steady.
open on the passenger
"No,
seat,
Mona,
each word
this
cutting
isn't
deeper than
over."
the last.
And with
she
that,
whispered to
she
herself,
stood,
"He
adjusted
did it
her
again."
hair,
After
and walked out
everything,
of the
he did it
studio,
again.
leaving behind
Her
a
phone
room
kept
full of
lighting
shocked
up.
faces
Kirk
and
calling
unanswered
over and
questions.
over, but she
The
couldn't
moment
move.
Rasheeda
She
stormed
just
out,
watched his
the
name
entire
flash on the
studio
screen
fell
like a
into stunned
ghost she didn't
silence.
recognize anymore.
The air was
Finally,
thick, like
she
everyone
answered.
had been holding
"What?"
their
she
breath
said,
for too
her
long.
voice hollow.
Lights still
"Baby,
blazed,
I can
cameras
explain."
still
Kirk
rolled,
stammered.
and the faint
Rasheeda
echo of her
laughed,
heels
not
faded
out
down
of
the
humor,
hallway.
but
Jasmine
disbelief.
stood
"You can
frozen,
explain a DNA
mascara
test."
smudging.
Kirk
While
froze.
Kirk rubbed his
"So you
temples
know,"
in
he
silence.
muttered. Rasheeda
Somebody
slammed
go
her
after
hand
her.
against the steering
Mona
wheel.
said finally,
"You lied to me
voice
again,
low but tense.
Kirk? After
We can't
everything
end
we
like
went
this.
through. After
Not
I
like
stood
this."
by you, when the
A
world
producer
dragged your
rushed
name
out,
through the
but
mud,
Mona stayed
you still
behind,
found a way to
hands
betray
on her
me.
hips.
There was a
Her
long
clipboard
pause
had
on the
fallen to
line.
the floor,
Kirk tried to
pages
speak,
scattered
but his
everywhere.
voice broke.
You could
It
tell
wasn't
this wasn't
supposed to
just
happen
another
like this.
episode gone off
He
script.
said softly,
This was
"I
about
just
to
wanted
become
to
the
make
moment
sure
everyone
before
would talk
Rasheeda
about
cut
for
him
years."
off." Before
Jasmine's
what?
voice
Before I
cracked
found
through the
out on
silence.
Instagram
"I
again.
didn't mean
Before
for
the
it to
world
happen
laughed
like
at me
that."
again.
Mona
Her voice
turned
cracked.
sharply.
"You humiliated
"Then how
me
did you
once,
mean for it to
Kirk.
happen?"
I forgave
Jasmine,
you because I thought
because
we could
from
fix
where I'm
it.
standing,
But you just turned
it looks like
forgiveness
you just
into a
blew up
joke."
half the
She
cast's
hung up and
lives on
drove
camera.
aimlessly for hours. hours.
Jasmine wiped her face.
Not even realizing where she was going until she pulled up in front of her mother's house.
I was trying to do that.
Charlene,
Not
always
like
sharp
that.
and unfiltered,
Mona shot back.
opened the door and saw
We do
Rasheeda's
drama
face.
here, but not
Lord,
destruction.
not again,
Kirk
she
finally
muttered.
spoke.
Rashida
His
fell
voice
into her
weary.
mother's arms.
She's gonna
sobbing
hate
like
me
the weight of a
forever now.
decade had finally
Mona's
broken her.
eyes softened
He did
for
it
just a
again.
second.
Mama,
She already
she
hated
whispered.
what you did.
He's got another
The question
child.
is, are
Charlene
you
didn't
gonna let
even
her
look
hate you
surprised.
again?
Baby,
Or finally
I told
fix
you
it?
a man like that
But
don't
before
change
anyone could
overnight.
answer,
He
the door
changes when
slammed
he's
open.
ready to lose everything.
Carly Red burst
Rashida
in,
shook her
phone
head.
in hand,
I thought he was
eyes
ready.
wide.
I thought
Mona,
this time was
girl,
different.
it's out.
Meanwhile,
The
Kirk sat in his
all
home
over the
studio,
blogs.
staring
Mona's
at the
jaw
same
dropped.
papers Rasheeda
What?
had seen the
How?
originals.
Carly
He
shoved
held
the
them
phone
with
in her
trembling
face.
hands,
The
eyes
screen
red, mind
glowed with
racing.
a post
His
from a
manager
gossip
walked
site.
in quietly.
Rasheeda confronts
Man,
Jasmine.
what are we
Mona
gonna do
yells,
about
"Cut
this?
T
Kirk
cameras."
didn't respond.
Exclusive leaked clip
VH1's
shocks
calling.
fans.
The manager continued, "They want to know if this is real. They say the producers want to reframe it as a redemption arc." Kirk looked up slowly, eyes cold. "Redemption. They want me to turn my family into a TV episode again." The manager sighed. "You either tell your story, or they'll tell it for you." Outside of Atlanta, the internet was in a frenzy. Hashtags like #KirkFrost 2.0 and #SecretChildScandal trended on Twitter and TikTok. People dissected every detail from Jasmine's lyrics to Rasheeda's captions. One fan wrote, "At this point, Kirk needs a paternity." One night, she called Jasmine herself. "We need to talk," Rasheeda said, her voice iced. Jasmine hesitated before answering. "You sure you're ready for that conversation?" Rasheeda didn't blink. "Meet me. No cameras, no producers. Just us." What happened next would change everything. They met at a quiet lounge on Peachtree Street after closing hours. No phones, no makeup, just raw tension in the air. Jasmine sat down first, ordered water. Rasheeda came in 5 minutes later, wearing black, like she was going to war. For a few seconds, they just stared. Then Jasmine spoke softly. "I never wanted this to go public again, but I had to protect what's mine." Rasheeda's jaw clenched. "You mean your reputation?" Jasmine shook her head. "No, I mean my child." Rasheeda froze. She could barely form words. "You're saying Kirk." Jasmine nodded slowly. "Maybe. I'm saying Kirk's been lying again. And this time, it's not about the past. It's about the future." Rasheeda leaned back, heart pounding. Eyes wet but fierce. "You expect me to believe this after everything?" Jasmine whispered. "You don't have to believe me. Just ask him about March. Ask him about the DNA test he tried to hide." For the first time in years, Rasheeda was speechless. Jasmine slid something across the table, an envelope. "I kept this in case I ever needed to prove the truth. We need confessionals from everyone. And it's time." Rasheeda hesitated, staring at the envelope. "What is this?" Jasmine whispered. "A copy. The real ones with my lawyer." Rasheeda didn't open it right there. She just stood up, shaking, and said quietly, "If this is real, Jasmine, you just ended everything." Jasmine looked down and whispered, "I've been around a lot of drama. Kirk did that himself." As Rasheeda walked out of the lounge, she knew she couldn't go back home. Not yet. She sat in her car, staring at the envelope on the passenger seat, the city lights reflecting off her tears. Somewhere out there, Kirk was pretending, reflecting off her tears. Somewhere out there, Kirk was pretending. Life was normal, and Jasmine was bracing for another public storm. But this time, the storm was different. This wasn't gossip. This was blood. And as Rasheeda took a deep breath and opened the envelope, the first words she read made her heart stop. "Paternity confirmation. Kirk Frost showing late-night check-ins with Jasmine. 97% probability." She dropped the papers, whispering one word under her breath. Again, and that's where everything started to unravel all over again. Whispers of betrayal, buried secrets, and a twist that no one saw coming. The secret child scandal that rocked love and hip-hop Atlanta is back. But when Rasheeda finally it's bigger, darker, and far more personal. Fans thought the storm between Kirk Frost, Rasheeda, and Jasmine Washington had finally passed. But just when everyone moved on, a shocking revelation has resurfaced. One that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about their family. Late-night fans scrolling through Instagram were the first to notice it. A cryptic post that simply read, "Blood doesn't lie. 2.0 coming soon." Within hours, social media erupted. Was Jasmine hinting at a new confession? Or was Kirk's name being dragged into another scandal? One that could shatter the fragile peace he's been trying to rebuild with Rasheeda. Sources close to the Frost family say tensions have been rising quietly behind closed doors for months. Rasheeda, who has fought hard to repair her marriage and rebuild her brand, reportedly discovered a secret message exchange between Kirk and someone connected to Jasmine, and that one message changed everything. Insiders claim the text contained a name that Rasheeda had never heard before, but one that carried the Frost last name. Rasheeda's been through this before. But this time, she's not crying. She's plotting. One insider revealed, she told production, "If there's another lie, I'll burn this entire franchise down." As rumors spread, VH1 producers were allegedly caught scrambling to control the narrative. Behind the scenes, crew members whispered that a lost chapter of the Kirk and Jasmine saga had been filmed years ago, but was shelved after legal threats and family pushback. Now, that footage and the truth it contains might be resurfacing in the most explosive way possible. But here's the real bombshell. Word on the street is that this secret child scandal 2.0 isn't about Hannah and Jasmine's son with Kirk. Was
at
he
all.
trolling Rasheeda?
It's about someone
or
else.
was it just a
child who's now old
Mona
enough to ask
watched it all
questions.
unfold from her
A child
office,
whose
sipping her
existence could tear
coffee,
two
both
households
exhausted
apart
and
all over
exhilarated.
again.
This
Fans
show
are
writes
already
itself,
speculating
she
online,
muttered. Behind
digging
the
through
scenes,
old interviews,
producers began
leaked
planning a
clips,
follow-up
and social
sit-down,
media
something
posts for
exclusive,
clues.
emotional,
Some believe
maybe
Jasmine's
even
family has
redemptive.
been holding
They
back
pitched
for
it as
years.
the Healing
Others
Summit,
claim
a
Kirk's
film
longtime
mediation
associate,
between Rasheeda,
someone seen
Jasmine,
frequently during
Kirk,
filming,
and Scrappy,
knows the
but
full
getting
truth
Rasheeda
but
to
has
agree
stayed
would take a
silent under a
miracle. When they
confidentiality
called her,
clause.
she was
Meanwhile,
blunt. You really
Rasheeda
think
is said
I
to
wanna
be
sit
playing
in
her
a room
cards
with them again?
carefully.
Nah.
She's smiling
I
for the
said what I
cameras.
said.
Another
The producer
insider told
pleaded.
us,
It's
but
not
she's
about drama
furious.
this time.
This time,
Rasheeda,
it's not just
it's
about
about
infidelity.
closure.
It's
About
about
owning your
deception,
story.
legacy,
There was a
and
long
loyalty.
pause.
The
Then
question
Rasheeda
now
said
isn't whether the
quietly,
secret
"If
will
I
come
do
out.
it, I'm
It's
doing
how
it
many
my way."
people will be
2 days
destroyed when
later,
it does.
filming began
Because in
again.
Atlanta,
The studio
secrets
looked
never stay
different
buried
candles,
for long.
softer
And when
lighting,
Kirk
a more
Frost's
intimate
path
setup,
comes knocking
but the
again,
tension was
this
still
time
there,
there might be
humming
no
like
coming back.
electricity.
Stay
Jasmine
tuned.
arrived
The truth
first,
about the secret
visibly
child
nervous.
scandal
Then
2.0
Scrappy walked
tied to
in,
Frost
head
Bistro's
down,
real estate
avoiding
trust.
eye contact.
Nothing traceable
Kirk
to her
followed,
publicly.
stoic.
No tax
Finally,
trails leading
Rasheeda
back.
entered,
But as the business
poised
grew,
but cold.
so did her
Mona
quiet
introduced
dividends.
them.
By
We're here for
motivational
healing,
quotes about
not
trust and
fighting.
healing,
Let's
she
start
thought
with
her marriage
honesty.
had survived the
Scrappy went
storm,
first.
but cracks
Look,
were already
I ain't
forming.
gonna lie.
Staff
I did
noticed
hang with
Kirk's phone
Jasmine a
calls
few
late at
times,
night,
but it
his
wasn't
sudden
like
need
that.
for
I
privacy
was going
whenever
through
bank
stuff.
statements
She was
arrived.
too.
One
We just
employee
talked.
swears they overheard
Maybe
an
it got
argument
messy,
about a
but
missing
there was
payment
never no
labeled
disrespect
consulting
to you.
fee. Rasheeda had no
Rasheeda's
idea
eyes
it was
stayed
going
locked on
straight
him.
into
So you
Jasmine's
expect
account.
me to believe
Things
that?
stayed buried
Scrappy
until a
sighed.
random
You can
audit by
believe what
Frost
you want.
Bistro's
I
accountant
ain't proud
raised
of
a
it.
red
Then
flag,
Jasmine
a recurring
spoke.
wire
I know I
transfer
hurt
to
you,
an
Rasheeda,
unfamiliar
and I'll
entity
never
with
stop
initials
being sorry for
JW
that.
Holdings.
But I'm tired
Kirk
of
brushed
being
it
your
off as
punching
an
bag.
old vendor,
I'm human
but word
too.
traveled
For a
fast,
moment,
and within
it seemed
days,
like Rasheeda
production
might snap
picked up the
again, but
scent.
instead,
That's when
she
things started
exhaled
to
slowly.
spiral.
You
During
know
a
what?
preseason
Maybe
planning
I'm
meeting,
tired too.
a producer
The room
casually
went
mentioned
quiet.
the audit
She
in front of
continued,
Rasheeda.
voice
She
trembling
froze.
slightly.
What
We
vendor?
keep fighting the
She
same
asked.
battle over
Voice
and
flat.
over.
Kirk
For
tried
what?
to laugh it
To
off,
prove
but
who's
the
right.
tension was
Nobody
visible.
wins.
Cameras
Not
weren't
me.
rolling yet,
Not
but
you.
witnesses
Not even
said
Kirk.
Rasheeda's tone
Jasmine's
changed
eyes
instantly.
welled up.
She left
Then
the
can we
meeting
stop
early,
fighting?
and by that
Rasheeda
night, she'd
hesitated, then
unfollowed
nodded.
Jasmine Washington
Maybe,
on
but stopping
Instagram
don't
again
mean forgetting.
for the first time
Mona
in
looked
over a
at both
year.
women,
Meanwhile,
almost relieved.
Jasmine
That's
herself
real.
was acting
She said
differently.
softly,
Instead of
"That's
posting
what
cryptic
people need to
quotes
see."
or pictures
But
of her
just as it
son,
seemed peace
she
had
started
finally
sharing subtle
arrived.
flexes.
A crew
New
member
car,
rushed onto the
luxury
set,
vacation,
phone in hand.
designer bags.
Mona, you need
Fans
to see
assumed
this.
it was
She
brand
took the
deals or
phone and her
influencer
face fell.
income.
A new
But
clip
insiders
had
knew
leaked
she hadn't
online,
signed
this
any
time
major
from today's
campaigns
shoot.
recently.
Someone
One of
had
her close
secretly
friends,
filmed the Healing
speaking
Summit and
anonymously,
posted it before
said
the
Jasmine
episode
once
even
joked,
wrapped. Mona's
"I make
voice
more
shook.
from
Who
silence
keeps
than
leaking
some
my
people make
footage?
from speaking."
The crew looked
No
around
one thought
nervously.
twice about it
Then one
until
of the
now.
assistants
By
spoke up.
mid-season,
It's not
rumors
just
had
the
reached the
footage.
network's
Mona,
executive
there's
suite.
more.
VH1
Someone's been selling
producers smelled a
behind-the-scenes
ratings
stories
gold
to
mine,
the
the return
blogs.
of Jasmine.
They're calling it Mona's
Not as a
reality
homewrecker,
revolt.
but as a
Mona's
secret
face
business
hardened.
partner.
Oh,
Emails
so
were
now we got
exchanged.
'em all.
Plans were
Rasheeda
drafted.
stood up.
Kirk,
You see,
however,
this
was
right
panicking.
here is why
He
there'll
knew if
never
the
be
contract
peace.
surfaced,
Somebody
it could
always
blow up
trying to
everything:
profit off
his
somebody
marriage,
else's
his
pain.
reputation,
Jasmine whispered.
screenshots of
Maybe
producer
that's the real
emails,
story.
but they only
Mona
raised
looked
more
at her
questions.
sharply. What
One
did you say?
screenshot appeared
Maybe
to
the
show
story ain't
Jasmine
about
thanking
who
him for
cheated
the
or who
arrangement.
lied.
Another,
Jasmine
however,
said quietly,
showed Kirk
"Maybe
instructing
it's
an
about how the
assistant
world
to make
loves
sure
watching us
Jasmine's
fall
cut
apart.
clears quietly.
For once,
Both
Mona
sides
didn't have a
accused the other
comeback.
of fabricating
The day
evidence.
ended with no
As
resolution.
court proceedings
The
loomed,
cast left in
VH1
separate
distanced
cars.
itself,
The footage was locked
quietly
away,
editing
so they
future
thought.
episodes
That night,
to remove
the
any
leaked
mention
Healing
of the
Summit
Frost
clip hit
name.
1 million
Frost
views in under
Bistro's
an
social
hour.
media
Fans
went
were
dark.
obsessed,
Fans
debating
speculated
whether
it
the
had shut
emotion was
down.
real or
Atlanta
scripted.
blogs
Some
reported
accused
staff
Mona of
layoffs and
orchestrating
unpaid
the
rent.
leaks herself.
Kirk's empire,
Others swore
the
there
same
was a
one he built to
saboteur
prove
inside
his
the
strength,
production
was
team.
crumbling brick by
morning,
brick. But the biggest
Mona
twist
leaks.
hadn't come
Everything
yet.
was trending.
During discovery,
Rasheeda stayed
Jasmine's
offline,
lawyer revealed a
choosing
new
silence.
piece of evidence.
evidence, a hidden clause in the contract that stated if Kirk breached confidentiality, her ownership percentage would double, meaning the more he spoke publicly, the more power she gained. It was poetic justice. The man who tried to control her silence was now amplifying her profit every time he opened his mouth. When this revelation hit social media, fans went feral. She outplayed him. One tweet said, "Silent partner turned smart partner." Others joked that Jasmine should start her own reality show called The Contract Queen. Memes, interviews, and think pieces flooded the internet. Rasheeda, meanwhile, was done with all of it. She reportedly filed for legal separation, citing irreconcilable deception. Though no documents were made public, multiple insiders confirmed she quietly met with divorce attorneys. Kirk didn't deny it. He couldn't. And just the silence between them was louder than any argument they'd ever had on camera. But even as the Frost Empire fell apart, producers at VH1 were planning a spin-off series. One focused not on love, but on legacy. The Frost fallout. One executive called it Because no
Rasheeda
matter
and
how this
Jasmine ever
ends,
truly
everyone's
make
going
peace?
to watch.
Or is this
And
just
deep
the calm
down,
before
every
another
fan knew they
storm?
were right.
One thing's
The
for
Frost
sure, the
story
cameras
had
may
become
have
bigger
cut,
than
but
reality
the drama
TV.
never will.
It was now a
If you love
cultural
this tea,
obsession.
hit that like
A cautionary
button.
tale of
Subscribe
love,
for more
greed,
explosive
and
updates.
secrets that
And
refuse
drop
to
your
stay
thoughts in the
buried.
comments.
And just
Whose
when
side are
everyone
you
thought it
on?
was